Los Angeles, the city of angels, where sunshine, health, agriculture, and middle-class white families flourish. This is what Anglo-Americans envisioned and believed Los Angeles was destined to be, and uses philosophy to justify the elimination of those who threaten their essential value of creating this Aryan city of the sun.
Many people associate settler colonialism with a single event. However, settler colonialism is a structure aimed not only at the conquest of land, but at the promotion of heteronormative Anglo-American values and the simultaneous elimination of outsiders and racial minorities.
Settler colonialism destroys to replace. So in order to create their vision of Los Angeles, Anglo-Americans believed that natives had to be completely eliminated. Native elimination first began by severing the relationship between natives and their land, and then criminalizing their displacement. Americans promoted natives' lifestyle so that they could ultimately imprison them through vagrancy laws.
In 1860, on average, 41 out of 219 natives were arrested in one night and forced into convict labor, where they had to transform the land that was once theirs into the settlers' dream city. The harsh and inhumane conditions of the jails in Los Angeles caused a rapid population decline of natives. In 1769, there were 10,000 natives. By 1880, only 312 remained.
By the 1880s, the majority of California was in the hands of Anglo-Americans. As industrialization expanded, poor white men, commonly referred to as hobos, traveled along the Transcontinental Railroad looking for work. Their ideologies went against the Anglo-Americans' vision of what Los Angeles should be.
In order to maintain their vision, the United States began the War on the Tramp Order, targeting hobos' culture and lifestyle. 5,000 hobos were arrested annually for public order charges and used for convict labor. In this way, incarceration was used to eliminate hobos and punish them for going against normative Anglo identity.
The overwhelming number of arrests during this time led to the rapid expansion of the prison system. During the same time period, many Chinese came to the United States in search of work. By the 1880s, 110,000 Chinese immigrants were living in America.
Much like the hobos, Chinese immigrants were labeled as Asiatic tramps who disrupted the homogeneous settler society. It was no surprise that in 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed, which prohibited Chinese laborers from entering the U.S.
In 1892, the Geary Act extended the Chinese Exclusion Act, which blended deportation and imprisonment of immigrants. Additionally, since deportation was viewed as administrative instead of punitive, the right to due process did not apply to immigration cases.
Imprisonment and ultimately deportation was America's way of eliminating the Chinese from Anglo-American society. In the 1900s, Mexican immigrants became the largest labor force in Los Angeles because they provided a cheap form of labor for businesses. As unregulated Mexican immigration grew, Mexicans caused a problem for the settler society because they established a united community with their own language, culture, and beliefs.
Fearing that Mexican permanence would go against the Anglo-American establishment in Los Angeles, America responded by passing the Immigration Act of 1924, limiting the number of immigrants allowed to enter the country. This act was amended in 1929, criminalizing immigration and making it a felony to enter the country illegally without documentation. If caught, illegal aliens were fined, imprisoned, and ultimately deported. This act reduced Mexican immigration in the United States by 65%.
Clearly, history repeats itself. The cycle of identification, criminalization, and ultimate elimination of social deviance can be seen through the eradication of natives, disappearance of the hobos and tramps, and the deportation of Chinese and Mexican immigrants. Some believe that settler colonialism is an idea of the past. However, it is truly a structure that has persisted as a driving force behind mass incarceration in today's society.
Today, $2 billion is allocated to controlling immigration in the United States. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's target detention population is 34,000 beds per day. In the past decade, 3 million immigrants have been detained in the system.
Although according to law, detained immigrants are not technically criminals, they are certainly treated as such and stripped of fundamental human rights. Even though only 3% of immigrants are able to win their cases without legal representation, more than 80% are unrepresented since they are not guaranteed an attorney.
This fact also makes it less likely for immigrants to have protection in matters of human rights abuses while detained. Immigrants are not the only group that threaten today's Anglo-American society. American minorities, specifically African Americans, are continuous targets of settler colonialism. A prominent example is the war on drugs.
Although the war on drugs is presented to rid the nation of drugs and the crimes associated with them, this battle is more of a racial target against African Americans. Despite the fact that nearly 5 times as many whites are using drugs as African Americans are sent to prison for drug offenses 10 times the rate of whites and constitute nearly 80 to 90% of all drug offenders sent to prison.
Even though crime rates are At historically low levels, incarceration rates continue to grow due to racial bias ingrained in the drug war. More than $51 billion is spent annually in the United States on the war on drugs. Since 1971, $1 trillion has been spent on this campaign. This is where our money is going. So what now?
Some believe that incarceration should be abolished, while others believe that ending the cycle of imprisonment begins with educating the community. As Angela Davis once said, the best way to eradicate prisons is to envision an array of alternatives that will require radical transformations of many aspects of our society.
It is only through social change that true progress can be made to end the cycle of mass incarceration.